and welcome to the next episode of the Make Romance Great podcast, which also happens to be the
The last
final
one.
episode of this season.
Yay, no, you can choose the reaction.
And we thought to finish the season with a bang by talking about the Romantasy author.
Boom, Sarah J. Maas.
It's gonna be all about Sarah J. Maas. Before we talk about Sarah J. Maas, my name is Paulina. I'm one of your co-hosts, and I am joined by my friend.
Monica.
So, where do we even begin to talk about the phenomenon that is Sarah J. Maas?
Well, I wanted to say that we are starting with the biggest regret that you are not going to hear my phenomenal Eastern European accent for the next couple of weeks. Yay. But it's
Yeah,
not about Sarah J. Maas. Second thing I wanted to say, it's not all about Sarah J. Maas, but all we want to talk about when talking about Sarah J. Maas and what we want to start with.
I mean, because a lot of people might have heard the name and not know who she is.
I
There's
don't
way
think
too
there are
many
any
people who
people.
know a lot, way more than they probably need to about Sarah J. Maas, but I am still coming across people who are like, A Court of Thorns and Roses? Sarah J. Maas? What? That's just a sign that they don't read romance and they don't read any fantasy usually.
Yeah, another thing that just came to my mind is like you just said that we all or like most of people know a lot about Sarah J. Maas, but actually that's not true because we don't really know a lot Sarah J. Maas. We know a lot about her writing,
People
but
think they
she
know about her.
yeah, we know a lot about her writing, but she is one of these authors who is very private and she does not interact a lot with her fan base. So this is one of the very unique things I would say if it comes to any popular authors.
Especially in this
Um,
day and age where
yeah,
authors are
precisely, right?
encouraged or pushed or forced to be more interactive.
Yeah, I
Like
would rather said like this is one of the requirements that the publishers nowadays will just put on the authors. So like you must be the part of the marketing because they are too
mm,
lazy to do the marketing by themselves. Let's be honest, this is all about that and the money. But yeah, we are not anymore in the times that the author can be like, my writing will do everything for me. It would be fantastic, especially for the authors that are introverts. But
mm,
that's not the
which is
case
most
anymore.
authors, let's face it.
I'm not. You are not either, so.
I am. I very
Really?
much am, yeah.
Ah, fucking hell, okay, I am. Well, for most of my life, or like most of my adult life, I thought that I am introvert as well, and after that, it turned out it was depression.
But to bring it very quickly, like back
Yeah,
to the episode, I would like to preface this with you've read every book that she's written.
I
I've
did.
not. I've only read the Courts series, and the only bits through this that I've noticed is you get glimpses of Sarah J. Maas as a person in her acknowledgements,
You
typically when she
do.
mentions her husband, and that's about the extent that you know about her as a person, that she is married and that she seems to be happily married.
She has two kids.
And that's it,
We
really.
know. No, there are some things that we know about her. We know uh, that she studied, at least for some time, religious studies, which we can actually very much see in her books, like among different mythologies that she will be just putting here and there. That's separate topic that we may touch on this episode as well.
Yeah.
We know that she participated in the creative writing course.
But I don't remember those bits being dropped in the court's
No,
acknowledgement
no, oh
series
no, absolutely
specifically.
not. Not, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So like if it comes to like the acknowledgements, you are right. So we know that she is married and she is happily married. We can see some of her life in her books and some of her approach to different things, but this is like
Mm-hmm.
typical if it comes to the
Yeah,
writers.
absolutely.
But yeah, if it comes to acknowledgements, that's it. If it comes to like altogether what is known about Sarah J. Maas, what I very much like about her, but I also know this is kind of a privilege that, as we already said, not all of the authors can afford, is she can afford to be very private
Yes.
because she's already on this level that whatever she writes, it will sell
Yeah.
in thousands of copies. So this already like brings another thing that especially with her last published books, so the second and the third, especially the third books in the Crescent City series, well, trilogy so far. There will be one more book, but like so far it's trilogy, and the story is kind of like the story arc is kind of finished, is that she fell into kind of J.K. Rowling trap with the fifth Harry Potter book that is very large for no reason. And
Hmm.
her books started to be very large for no reason. And they are voices, obviously unconfirmed because there is pretty much no way to confirm that. But they are people who pretty much kind of saying that Sarah J. Maas is not edited anymore because there is no point of spending money on that because she will sell anyway. So it's kind of like she is writing, and just asking the publishers, tell me when I should stop. And they're like, yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. So, especially with the third book of the Crescent City, so the House of Flame and Shadow, I think, yeah. This kind of feels like this. And
Which is sad to see with any author because considering that she has that privilege to be private, to be
yeah,
relatively withdrawn and from interactions with fans online specifically,
yeah,
it's a lot of it is down to the fact that her early books are good, that she earned her fame and she
yes.
earned her popularity, but also because she happened to do so at the right time just before TikTok became essential to publishers as a marketing tool. So she never had to because she got published just before that really, really hit in.
I wouldn't say just,
No, but
because
what I'm saying is like it wasn't that long. Like they're not that old.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was not at all. Just trying to see from which year her debut novel, The Throne of Glasses, but internet is freaking
Um,
misbehaving today.
let me be your Google today.
Please.
And I will. So the series began in 2012.
Yes, I
So
see.
it's
Yeah, I see it
13
now
years
as
old by
well.
now.
So first published, yeah, it's 2012. So yeah, she I wouldn't say it's like just before because I remember when I was in 2012 and I remember when I started to use Instagram and Facebook, etc. But social media were exactly what they're
Yeah,
still called. They were social media. They weren't marketing tools
yeah.
as they are now.
And it's
So
been between
Facebook
2012.
kind of still remains like social tool, especially for people our parents' age, let's be honest, which is kind of cute.
But yeah,
But
between 2012 and 2020, 8 years, that's a lot of time to build that reputation where she
yeah,
had to
precisely.
give the publishers a book that was deemed of good enough quality to be published.
Yeah. I, as quite a lot of readers of Sarah J. Maas, I dare say, started with her Throne of Glass book, which
Hmm.
was actually somewhere in 2019, if I remember correctly. And I had fun. I had fun with her books, but it didn't happen immediately.
Hmm.
It didn't happen immediately. So I read The Throne of Glass, so the first book, and I liked it. And then I started reading the second one, which was The Crown of Midnight. And I DNF'd it like somewhere just before the middle, and I was like, oh fuck this book, I'm not reading that. Like it very much annoyed me. I can't remember what was the reason, but like I couldn't really get into this book, right?
Hmm.
Looking at the fact that after that I read loads and loads of much longer books because the Crown of Midnight would be around 400 pages, more or less.
Yeah, that's short for fantasy,
It's
really.
short for fantasy, right? And it's like very much annoyed me, but after sometimes I was like, it was still before the TikTok and Instagram as a marketing, as a
Hmm.
influencing tools. Um, and I kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to read this because, well, whatever. But after sometimes I just decided to give it one more go. And and it just hit, and it
Hmm.
just hit. And I finished the second, the third. I just read like everything. Like now, if I'm reading the series, I need to like read it in stages. So one, maximum two books, something else, something else, something else, and then I will be back.
Hmm.
I sometimes even do months of break between the next books in the series, but this I read everything in one go pretty much. And then I started with the Court series. So four books, and I just devoured them. And soon after that, I think the first Crescent City was published, and I
Hmm.
loved it as well. And then before the next book, which was Court of Silver Flames, I had quite a lot of time to think about stuff.
Was that when you told me to read Akotar? Because I remember
I
I'm
don't know.
again, like as I said, I've only read the Akotar series, so I
Yeah.
can't comment on anything else. I do remember I read it in 2020 because you told me, please read it. I need to scream with someone about it, and I need to scream our thoughts. And just like you had with her works, it sucked me in, and I read through all of them one by one, and it brought back my joy of reading because they were so, especially the first two, and I
I had the same with
yeah,
Throne of Glass. It
yeah,
just brought back my joy of reading, which was kind of destroyed after the university.
exactly. It brought back the realization that reading should be fun, that you should
Yeah.
enjoy yourself,
Yes.
and yeah, of course, like you can scream and vent at characters because they're doing stupid things, but that's part of the fun.
It is part of the fun, and it's not that after that. I mean, after university, I didn't read at all. However, there was like some short period that I read very little, like two, three, maximum, like up
Same.
to five books per year. And Sarah J. Maas and one other author who also writes fantasy, Siri Pettersen. She's Norwegian, and she wrote the trilogy of Raven Rings. And she was the first one to bring me back to reading fantasy for joy. And then Sarah J. Maas brought me there to write again. I stopped writing after that, like few years after, but that's other thing. And to enjoy romance.
Hmm.
So that was Sarah J. Maas' books, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah. And it before we do start getting into like all the negatives and the criticism and whatnot, it does bear repeating that her books are good. Like there's a reason why it's not just quote unquote a TikTok sensation, even though at some point in the pandemic, whatever initially got Book Talk started on Akotar and Sarah J. Maas
Yeah.
boosted her sales and boosted her popularity, but it's because there was value in them. Like
Yes.
she's great at creating characters
Yes.
with, especially early on. Her characters were great. They had very good motivations, and therefore how they were acting seemed logical. It made sense
Yes.
why
Yes.
Feyre would do something or not do something, why Tamlin would do something and then not do something.
Yes. I also don't really want this to like go. It's like, okay, Sarah J. Maas this, people love her because this, and let's go into good stuff. No, like, ranting is easy.
Hmm.
Ranting is easy, and don't get me wrong, I do love a good rant.
We do that a lot here.
Uh, yes, we do, but I don't want to do this with Sarah J. Maas.
We do want to give her justice.
Yes, and I do have issues with her writing, but I also do like her writing.
Hmm.
So, do I read her books now much more critically than I read before? Absolutely. But it's not only because I read all Sarah J. Maas books, so now I'm reading her critically. No, it's because I've read tens of books since reading Sarah J. Maas books. And one thing or not, I read different books, like not only romantasy, not only romance, like not only fantasy. And some things started to be like a little bit meh for me, let's say.
Hmm.
But still, I do enjoy her books, and I must say that Sarah J. Maas is one of not many romantasy authors that I still read because, as we said at the very beginning of our podcast, as I said, I do not enjoy romantasy. I do
Hmm.
like romance, I do like fantasy, but I do not like romantasy. And Sarah J. Maas is still one of the maybe two or three authors of Romantasy that I would just buy immediately after the next book is published. Will I rant after that? Duh! But I will also read it. I will also read it, and yeah, I still do enjoy her books, even though I think that her Crescent City series as a whole was a massive fail. And I may think that because I really, really enjoyed the first book, sorry. I really liked the first book. Maybe the beginning was a little bit sloppy because we already could see the very little of editor's work there, especially when she was just info dumping us with the information about the world. So here, this, and I was like, what the fuck I'm reading about? So who are these people? What is this world, etc. So the that wasn't done very well, the world building. But after that, like when the thing that she's very good at, so building characters and building their relation, it was very, very, very entertaining. And I had loads of fun with this book and I loved it. And for me, like with a little bit of editing, this book could have been like just standalone. And I was enjoying this. After the second and the third book, I started to get this impression that this series is there only to like further the plot of the court series. Will this episode be heavy of spoilers? Obviously, like every of our every
If
our
you've gotten this
episode.
far, and yeah, this is your warning now.
Yeah, so, well, there will be quite a lot of spoilers, but yeah, the second one was not good, and the third one was horrible. I freaking hate this.
What
We
often
have, like, how bad it is. We had one scene where she didn't really care to give us information about the past, so she just made her main character to be like, oh, in this cave there is one huge star. This star look exactly like the one that I have on my chest. It means that I need to step inside. And she was just lucky that it didn't burn her fucking face. So she just got there and boom, there was a like a hologram of a fae from before thousands of years that she was like, oh, like if someone is hearing this, here is what happened. And for like 5 pages, she's giving us history lecture, explaining us everything, and this is it. And I'm like, what the actual fucking fuck? Like, how lazy can you be?
do we think that that was when she discovered video games? Because that entire sequence sounds incredibly video gamey. Because as a gamer,
Oh,
you'd
really?
know, yeah, as a video games as a storytelling medium is far
Yeah.
more visual, obviously. So
Yes.
so having these hints of, oh, your character has this symbol is now in front of me, I must interact,
Oh,
and
okay.
then get a lot of info dumping. That's very commonly done to like get some
I do not play
exposition.
video games, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
know it. So
Maybe
thank you
Sarah J.
very
Maas just
much.
started playing games in her free time and got
Yeah,
influenced.
it kind of looks like this. So I was very upset if it comes to
Mm.
that series because the first book looked like something that I would really, really enjoy, especially that it was urban fantasy, and I do like urban fantasy. And then it kind of flopped, and it's second and the third book. It kind of seems like I don't know, just a pretext to, as I said, further ahead the court books because we have the it's not the beginning, but like we finally see the Maas verse like in full, right? Because Bryce, the main character of the Crescent City, she wants to teleport somewhere else to the planet or realm called Hell, and she just is being redirected, let's say, to Prithian. And
Hmm.
obviously, the book is being ended with the most beautiful man walking towards her, and he was beautiful, and he looked like night, and whatever, Shadow Daddy, blah blah. And he said, "Hello, Bryce Quinlan. My name is Rhysand." And I was like,
Oh my God.
All right. Yeah, yeah. So that pretty much was what happened there.
I think it hurts all the more because when your first books are objectively good and well written, to
So
then
if
see
it's
them stop
yeah,
being that hurts more because as we've said it before, and you certainly were saying that before, the whole point in Akotar specifically with how Tamlin was introduced and then
yeah,
how Rhysand was introduced, there was none of this waxing poetic about how, about
how
the
we will
man
have in
right
the
now.
yeah, with the Romantasy nowadays. So like
Exactly.
it is enough that we will get this two large paragraphs description of how he looks like, how wild he is, and how beautiful, and how dangerous, and how he smells, and how he moves, which is like, oh, just start fucking immediately now. Because, like, you are not going ever to convince us that you are enemies. Please stop.
No. So a lot of the stuff, even just within Akotar as one series, she gets
Yeah.
a little bit repetitive and like there's clearly tropes that she enjoys. There's clearly motifs that she cannot live without. My personal gripe is why do they all have to be fated mates? Like there
Yes.
can be love and there can be long-term relationships that you choose to be in rather than no, this predetermined fated mate bond that
There
just
was
me.
something that
Yeah.
really, really, really annoyed me. Like one of the things that really annoyed me in the Court of
Yes!
in the A Court of Silver Flames, because
Yes!
I really liked Nesta and Cassian
Absolutely.
just being people who happened to fall in love, and
Exactly.
at the end it was like no, they actually were mates, and I'm like, my dear, you started your books and your universe of the fated mates by telling us that this thing is extremely rare,
And
and most
suddenly,
yeah, and most of the people or haha, not people but fae, most of them will not actually ever find their mates ever, because it's not very common. And yet every single one of your characters has a fated mate, which is like,
yes.
which one is it? It's not enough that you tell us, show us.
And especially because, again, with this whole, when it was just Feyre,
Yeah.
we knew she wasn't mated with Tamlin, but
Yes.
in book one, we fully believed that's their relation.
Yes.
In book two, we got convinced through Rhysand's actions
Yes.
that yeah, they are a better relationship, and then it was introduced like this fated mate thing. Great.
Yeah.
To then, I found the Nesta and Cassian's fated mate thing to be dropped in the book really crudely
Yes.
because it was later towards the end and it was this grand revelation of but you actually are my fated mate and they tried to do the flashback of when we first met and all this.
Let's stop pretending we are going into rant section.
We're not pretending, but the bit that I'm ranting about here specifically is from that point on, because we know that there's going to be more books within that series, they all became so. We can predict them now because of
Yeah.
how obsessed she is with this idea of a fated mate bond with, oh, for fuck's sake, I forgot the third sister's name.
Elaine.
Elaine, thank you. It was told that the moment Elaine turned Fae, Lucian went, "You are my fated mate." And even though she has a bit of a coming out of her shell relationship developing with someone else, we know it's going to be her and Lucian because of the author's
The fated
bias
mate.
because of that. And that's kind of taken away from something that I'm sure it'll be fun to read, but rather than enjoy the book, I'll sit here and judge it based on how convinced I am, as
Yes.
well as keep expecting this to drop.
Yes, absolutely.
Seeing as we've already started
Yeah,
introducing
another
some
thing that actually
criticisms.
brings us again to something that she likes doing, and you could have observed it, and I can now confirm that it happened in her other books. So, what we could have observed with the relationship between Nesta and Cassian is that they kind of started getting into relationship in the third book.
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Yeah.
like in this great battle, that there is something happening between them, and
Yeah.
yeah, like
The
him
sparks were
saying,
flying.
yeah, and him saying that he actually, if he will ever have any regret, like dying, he has this regret they didn't have more time, which was a
Mm-hmm.
freaking fantastic scene.
Absolutely.
And then we are getting to book four, and this is all falling apart because she just likes writing this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not the first time. Like in the Throne of Glass, pretty much every single relationship that the main character will have, and he will have kind of three of them, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
they all start with this kind of enemy
Yeah.
thing, right? We don't like each other. You are something like, oh, we don't like each other. The thing that she did also in the Crescent City, well, that very freaking annoyed me, is the fantastic thing that we didn't get, that we got but didn't get in the first Crescent City book, The House of Earth and Blood, was that the main characters, they actually didn't have like sex, deep penetration sex.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen with that.
Okay.
Like there are quite a lot of hot scenes, and
Mm-hmm.
they are good, and I like them and I enjoyed them, but they do not, like, let's say, seal the deal eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Like things happen, but they do not have the penis into vagina sex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then what is happening at the beginning of the second book? Well, we very quickly learn that Hunt and Bryce, they decided not to have sex because of reasons. So, like, there is a reason in theory there. So the reason is like, oh, we do not have sex because like everything happened so quickly between us, and it was like all quite hectic, like with shitty things happening, demons, murders, whatever, which is kind of true, but not. I mean, like, it's not that it was very quick. It wasn't. Like, the time was passing there
Mm-hmm.
and the relationship was developing. And they decided that they are not going to have sex because I don't know, probably because Sarah needed some sexual tension happening there. I don't see absolutely any other reason why it happened. I see the same happening soon with the well, Azrael book. That
Yeah.
is the next one of the Court's books that is going to be published. We don't know when, but yeah, this one. So what we want to say altogether is Sarah J. Maas, she likes her tropes, which are already Sarah J. Maas tropes, and we
Yeah.
kind of expect them.
Yeah. Which, on some level, it generates buzz amongst people who are her fans in a similar way as like Swifties do, where you go and get a little Easter egg. It's like, oh, she's done this again. Oh, she's making references to that. Like, when it's
And there
done
is
well,
loads and
the
loads of
community
TikTok
loves
stuffs.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is like one of the things why she has like this
Such a massive
huge
fan base.
community.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you said very well, this is something that very well as well Taylor Swift does.
Mm-hmm.
So she will just be putting this like a lot of Easter eggs. This I know, like I'm not Swiftie, I'm not altogether fan of Taylor Swift. I'm not a hater, I just don't care.
Fair.
But like this is very well done marketing.
Yeah.
Not forced one. I'm
Absolutely.
pretty sure Sarah J must have loads of fun
Yeah.
putting these things in her books. And like this is very well done. This is chef's kiss.
I mean, I feel like there's plenty of authors, probably especially within romance and romance adjacent genres who fantasy as well. Like when you create these vast universes
Yeah.
or sagas, you enjoy giving a little nod to something that's happened before or a little wink wink to the reader of if you know, you know. And
Yeah.
it's very easy to do because, again, if it's a saga, then you go, oh, here's the couple from a previous couple of books in the background of the ball, just having a little bit of a domestic argument or wherever it might be, or having a
Yep.
dance. And if it's fantasy, then you go, oh, someone went somewhere and they went past a tavern that's managed by someone that we'd met in the previous book. readers lap that stuff up because we get invested in these worlds.
Yeah.
So, and authors do enjoy doing that. If they didn't, they wouldn't have done it because it's such an
It's
easy thing to cut
absolutely.
out.
Yeah. Well, oh, another thing that we didn't mention.
Oh yeah.
This may sound like a accusation, like a critique, but it's not. We already spoke about our brains liking the same things when we spoke about tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing about Sarah J. Maas here as well, because when you think about how her books are being created, like about the patterns and how the plot is being developed and how the relationships are being developed, you can kind of realize that it's the same dish, but like with a little bit different sauce. And and this is one of the things that our brain likes because it brings us comfort. And that's not a diss because I'm a human and my brain works the same way. And I do like the same things. I'm watching Hunger Games and Lord of the Rings and Twilight every single year when I'm knitting, when the ha 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 season starts.
As well as we read romance. We know what's going to happen.
We know the patterns and we still read it. So that's fine, but like that's one of the things that that may bring people to Sarah J. Maas back and back and
Absolutely.
back because it will be as again the same thing but like with slightly
Yeah.
modified flavor, but it's still the same things, right? You will know how it develops, etc. There may be some things that are quite funny at some point, like, or you can like just roll your eyes because every fucking character will have a tragic backstory. Altogether, I don't know if you like ever got into like where it started. So it started with the last book of the Throne of Glass series. So
Mm-hmm.
it started in the Kingdom of Ash, where our main character, she's just like moving into like getting out of her body and she's meeting like the gods of the land and has stuff with them.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, she's just falling out of there and she's falling through different worlds.
Okay.
And she's falling and she like kind of closes all of the door behind her, which after reading the Quartz and the Crescent City, I was like, oh, thanks God she did it. But I don't know if she won't open them now because Sarah will need the universe to like be finished. Multiverse. Sorry. But she's falling there and there are like these moments when she's like falling through like the and she's falling through the world and she sees the city which is like just at the riverband and the city is full of lights and we know after that that it will be
Mm-hmm.
Lunathion, so the Crescent City, and then she's falling through the world that is like full of water. And I suppose this is also kind of a hint to the same world that the Crescent City is, but because like the next book in this universe that we'll get is the House of Many Waters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That will probably happen like mostly somewhere underwater. And then she's falling and she sees a woman, heavily pregnant woman, and a man. And he's like one of the most beautiful men in the world. And there is a mountain with three peaks.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
know where she is. But like
Mm-hmm.
that was the first kind of connection
Mm-hmm.
that we got there. And like they are there and she's saying that the man like kind of rose his hand like as in this way of greeting,
Mm-hmm.
and she started to slow down then like when falling through the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was very good. It was very, very good, and I enjoyed it. And I remember when we actually got information in the fourth book of the courts, right? So the Court of Silver Flames, that Feyre is pregnant. I was like, oh my god, are we finally getting Aileen falling? And we did. So it wasn't a lot of information there. So we only got it that they saw like a very strange red star falling there, like at this night of the falling stars, whatever. and they kind of got scared. Like, what's that? What does it mean? Is it like a bad omen or something? But yeah, it was like one of the very obvious but like very nice Easter eggs because I really enjoyed Throne of Glass. So this is where it started. So that was the first one that we got the glimpses of the
Hmm.
worlds that she actually created after that, and I was like, oh, that's what I love. But it's also getting us into Sarah J. Maas writing being very repetitive.
Yeah.
So as you said, like we kind of know what will happen in the future. Like if she decides actually that Elaine and Azriel should be together, will I hate her for that? Absolutely yes, but I will also applaud her.
I'm not sure if I'll hate.
I will because I don't like Elaine.
I mean, that's its own thing, but that just means whoever Elaine ends up with, I'm sorry for the guy rather than I hate the pairing.
I wouldn't be mad if she ended up with Tamlin actually, because I think they are very, very a good match.
But we practically
But
know that that's not
Sarah,
going to happen.
yeah, we know that Sarah is not going to give Tamlin a redemption, which actually can get us into, well, Sarah's, on the Sarah's haters. Or like our haters, Sarah lovers blacklist,
Yeah.
because I should be just waving one transparent thing just to.
Yeah, there's a lot of I noticed it far more with Nesta than with Tamlin, but when we then spoke later about it, it's also very obvious with Tamlin in that so it's only certain characters are allowed to have
Live through
redemption,
stuff.
to
Yeah.
live through stuff, to have past, and to deal, to process their traumas. Like there's strong hints at this is the correct way to process your trauma,
Yeah.
rather than no, this is how that person goes through their stuff. Like the fact that Nesta spent 3 books, well, 2.5, because the Christmas special, that's not real, but she
Oh, this is
spent
fucking bullshit.
it's the Christmas
Sorry.
special, like that's just its own thing.
A
But like
very not special one.
she spent all this time being quite rightfully angry,
Yeah.
and not once has anyone even bothered to go up to her and saying, "Do you know what? I'm sorry, I was a dick to you. You had right to be angry because you didn't ask to be dragged into all of this."
Yeah, I actually like will get a little bit, but only a little bit, to the conversation with the fans saying, "Oh, but she like didn't care about Feyre and her family when still in the human land," and I'm like, is it justified though? Like, so are we the ones who are paying people back for bad behavior? At the same time claiming that, oh no, we are actually better than this and everybody deserves redemption, but you only deserve redemption if it's on our terms, as it happened with Nesta,
Or
or
if you were
like,
a good person.
or if you were a good person. And if you are, or if you are not a good person, we decide
Yeah.
about this, and I'm talking about Tamlin here, because like let's just
Hmm.
put it like people are, oh, because Tamlin wanted Feyre as a trophy. I don't see that in the book. I
He
don't see that
was
in the book.
I see Tamlin as very much just a product of the society that he described. He
Yes.
talked about Fae society and said it's male Fae who rule, and you get a political marriage, and if you're lucky, you kind of like one another, and this is how it is. He was never taught how to overthrow the status quo because the only time he saw somewhat of an overthrowing was with a dictator who cursed him
Uh
a little
yeah.
bit, and even then, not fully.
Yes, absolutely. Did he treat Feyre as a trophy? Again, I don't really think so. He wasn't in her head, so he didn't know what she was thinking,
Yeah,
right? And Feyre, let's be honest, in the beginning of book two was pretty much behaving as a brat. Do you want to pay? No,
yeah,
I don't want to pay, but it always has given you comfort because you were fucking speaking about this for most of the first book. Like, how can I draw something and whatever and whatever. And then there's like, no, I did tell you that it doesn't bring me joy. Do you want this friend Yanti? No, I don't want a friend. Do you want this? No, I. Please don't go there. No, I will actually go there and I will risk my life. It's like, you are not the only one going through this stuff.
yeah.
I know you went through the stuff, but this guy, who actually you do claim to love, is actually going by the things that you gave him. He's working with the things that you gave him in the book one. So, what did you want in book one? In whole book one, you wanted to eat, you wanted to be safe, and you wanted to have sex. Did she want anything else? No, she didn't want to be useful, as she out of nowhere wants to be in the book too. She didn't want to be useful. She didn't want to do things. She wanted to enjoy, to be safe, not to have to hunt, not to do anything. She
Arguably to
wanted
also return to her family, which now she knew in book two, she now knows she can't.
she didn't want to go back to her family. She
Did she
wanted
not?
to know that her family is being taken
That
care
one,
of.
yeah.
And it didn't happen because she loved her family so much. It was,
No.
which she's not obliged to love her family. I'm not saying
No,
that.
but she was
But
open from the very beginning of the story that she felt
yes,
duty to take care of them because they all seemed incapable of doing that
and
themselves.
she was pretty much forced by her mother to
Yeah,
do
and
that,
and by her own sense of survival. It's like
which sucks. I
if
know
I
it
don't take care of
sucks.
them, then I don't survive.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the moment Tamlin tells her, it's like, bitch, but I taken care of them. They have a house, they are living pretty well now. Like, I didn't left them to nothing. She doesn't give them a thought.
No, that's true, yeah.
So let's just not put him that he's the most horrible person because he didn't read her mind. It's like, come on. Like, come on. The guy was working with what he knew, what she gave him. And let's not forget that he was going through the trauma as well. It's not only Rhysand that had trauma, it's not only
Yeah,
Feyre that had trauma. Do we know that Rhysand had it worse than Tamlin? Objectively, yes, but there is no such thing as subjective way of looking at stuff. Tamlin, like Rhysand, was actually used sexually by Amaranta, which is horrible. We know about it. But he also was doing this for someone. Tamlin had no one. His only friend was Lucian, pretty much, and he had no family, no one he was doing this for. He was doing this for the people that lived in the Spring Court.
yeah. The good sense of duty and obligation towards the people that he was in charge of, which
Was he a good ruler? We don't know. Possibly he was because he was managing pretty well. The only thing that we knew about him not being empathetic enough for Feyre is like when he still wanted attacks from this
yeah.
one of the Fays,
Which guess
and
what? In the world,
which
like in feudal societies like these were presented,
it
you
was
paid
fucking happen
tax.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Feyre just being a brat obviously went there, showing us that she's a better person than Tamlin, which she didn't because she's just being a brat. And this is very obvious narrator's voice here
Mm,
doing this so Feyre after that can be saved, but this what a Fey.
yeah. The pulling in a favor one.
Yeah. So that was kind of obvious. So I'm not saying that Tamlin is a good guy. I'm saying Tamlin is as good as everybody else
He's a nuanced
because
character.
somehow Rhysand's action are being justified because he had his reasons. Guess what? Tamlin had his reasons as well, and he did love Feyre, and actually narrator and Feyre as well, they admit that they know that this guy actually loved her, and he did all of these things because he loved her. And also people are like, oh, but like she wrote him a letter. Guess fucking what? What Tamlin knew that Feyre can't read. So the moment he is getting a written letter from her, obviously he is not going to believe because also Rhysand is being well known for messing with people's minds.
Yeah. And I've
So
noticed,
justice for
yeah,
Tamlin.
I've noticed that and that's just again, just going off Akuta, but that characters are allowed to be nuanced
Yeah,
only when the book is about them.
yes.
So Tamlin was allowed to be nuanced when it was his turn. As soon as we got to book two,
Yeah.
suddenly
He is
it
not allowed.
is not allowed. With
No.
Nesta, she was allowed to have nuance in A Court of Silver Flames, but in the lead up to it, no, she was just being an angry bitch.
And she's being shown to us as a brat,
Yeah.
while we all know that the only brats are the Court of Night Pack, which I fucking hate them. Like, especially in this story, but like in the Court of Silver Flames, like, I really do hate them.
It's very high school.
It's very high school, and I do not like what Sarah does with her male interest, love interest after the like happy ending,
Mm-hmm.
because it happens both with the love interests in The Throne of Glass and with Rhysand's in the courts, that they are pretty much being restricted to like one of two phrases or like one of two or two description. So like after that, like in the Court of Silver Flames, and after that in this some scenes when Bryce from the Crescent City goes to Prithian, he is just being described like, oh, he's very dangerous, and they are shadows, and there are like, I don't know, the darkness, and he has so much authority and whatever. Like, this is pretty much it. The same happened with Rowan in the Throne of Glass. Well, the only thing that he is saying pretty much all the time is like, together, we will do this together. This is like most of the last book, the Kingdom of Ash, he's like, together, we'll do this together. It's like, can you talk at all?
I'm sure someone out there has devised the Sarah J. Maas drinking game
Oh,
where
I'm sure.
if you fancy yourself to have some responsible fun with reading,
Yeah.
go for it because you really could. Like, it doesn't take long to figure that out. Yeah, one of the other bits that I've had, gripes that I've had with her, is on this whole plausible deniability. That's a
Oh,
big theme.
yes.
Like, whether that's about
And this is
race
very
or
much,
sexuality,
yeah.
like, if it works, then, oh, yeah, 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 they totally are. But if it doesn't, it's like, oh, but it was never explicitly said that they are this or the other.
And this is actually the critique to Sarah J. Maas for writing the characters this way, but also to her, like,
Fandom?
fandom girlies that are getting
Mm-hmm.
very into that. So, like, if there will be, I don't know, drawings, whatever, showing people as more diverse, they're
Mm.
like, oh, but like you see the stuff. Everybody can see the character as they want to, which is like fucking bullshit. As you said, this thing actually goes for quite a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
So the Illyrians are written this way. I mean,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Illyrians, the good Illyrians, right? So
Yeah.
Cassian, Rhysand, and Ezreal are written this way. So she won't really describe the color of the skin. She will be going by this very vague descriptions like kissed by sun and whatever. And I'm like, girlie, what it actually means? Do you want to say that they have darker tone of skin? Or you want to say that they are just tanned? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't really say. And this is done that and she's done that on purpose. The same goes with Helion in Akothar. So he's kind of described as being dark skin,
Mm-hmm.
but then in the third book, we learn that he's actually Lucian's father, and we know that Lucian is very white. So,
Mm,
who is he actually?
yeah.
We will have this with Bryce, that she's being described as curvy, but
Mm-hmm.
like, is she like more of a fat girl? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not meaning this by
No,
insult, I'm
no.
fucking fat. But like she's kind of described it like this, but then we learn that she's like this super sporty and she can run a lot without like breathing hard or something, which is like, I'm again not telling that fat people cannot have sports, we
No, I mean,
do,
we've seen
but
Lizzo do
like
stuff on stage that a lot I can't do.
exactly. But it will still, like, you will have issues breathing. You
Yeah.
won't be able to run as much because you have quite a lot to carry with you. So, like, who is Bryce actually? How does she look like? We don't
Mm,
know. We don't know. Same thing with sexual minorities.
yeah.
So we have Morrigan in the courts described
Yes.
as we don't know.
Yeah,
We don't know.
it's
So on one hand, she kind of says that she always connected more with women and she had a romantic relationship with one of the human queens from the, well, centuries ago. But also then she engages in this very promiscuous relationship, like with Helion and with Cassian. So she's like, who is she? Is she a lesbian, but she wants to hide it? Is she bisexual? Why are you repeating this really, really annoying stereotypes about bisexual people that they are only bisexual because they want to fuck with everyone? Which is like, ah, no, fuck you.
that one.
Also, even if this is not a real problem.
First of all, yeah,
This is
like,
first of all, actually, and like, what kind of critique is that, right? So it's like, oh, you are bisexual because you want to fuck with everyone. It's like, yes, oh,
and also given all this, like, yes, we are presenting Prithian as a, especially like high society Fae, as very
yeah,
conservative. They are all patriarchal, they are conservative, all this. But
yeah,
yet we have this high school clique of friends, the Night Court Brigands, whatever they were.
yes,
And somehow all of them are like that extremely straight. It's like not they deviate from the rules, but not that far.
yeah,
They're on the edges of what's acceptable.
yes,
And that's how a lot of anything that could be plausibly denied is treated. It's like it's on the
yeah.
edges.
This is like we are all very acceptable, but we ourselves are very normal,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So
It's still for straight people, basically, is
yes,
what she's saying.
yes, yes, that's it, that's it. We already said that this goes with race. So again, at one hand, we will have Illyrians being kind of like Mediterranean, Arabic, but we don't know. But also the bad Illyrians, which are everyone, but not our heroes, will be like, what do we know about them? There is mountains, there are wings, there are tans, there are backwards and savage, and they hurt their women after
Mhm.
birth, which kind of give us some hints. But nothing is said explicit. Why are you
Mhm.
blaming us? Why are
Yeah.
you blaming the author? She didn't say that. She kind of did, and you know that.
Yeah, and her fandom is doing a lot of speaking for her, which for Sarah J. Maas, which I think
I would
is a
say that
big yeah.
the fandom are the only ones doing the speaking.
Yeah. But I think it's both at the same time. It's the author doesn't have to explain herself
Yeah,
because her fandom is speaking up for
yeah,
her, but
yeah,
at the same time, because the fandom is doing so much of defending her effectively,
yeah,
she doesn't feel like she needs to listen to the voices that she's being defended against and
yeah.
go, how about maybe, just maybe, let's
How about
consider
maybe
the
just maybe,
possibility.
right? Absolutely. And this this I wouldn't say is my biggest issue,
Mm-hmm.
but like I also know it's not my biggest issue because this is not my issue, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm white,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also like I get it because I'm Slavic.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people may not know it, especially our listeners from the States. But Slavs are not very much liked in the Western Europe. And if someone will tell us, like, oh, but you're white, it's like, we are in Europe and the skin color and the race, it's not that much of a thing, or it's like a different kind of a thing
Yeah.
in Europe altogether. This is a huge topic. But yeah, we are Eastern Europeans, so Eastern Europeans are not very much like Slavs are the biggest part of the Eastern Europe, let's be honest. But we also have, well, Romanians and we will have Hungarians as well. And we are not very much liked in the Western Europe because we are backwards and we are not. And we are savage, we are not. And we don't treat people as we should, possibly, but when you used to historically have troubles getting your shit together and get food, etc., then thinking about other minorities is not the first thing that comes to your mind because you need to get rid of the thinking that you are the minority, which you were for quite a lot of times in your history. So Yeah, I'm not telling that everything should be justified. I'm just explaining stuff.
Yeah.
So if it comes to like Illyrian's representation, I really feel it. I
Mm-hmm.
really feel it because I have the impression, and this is only my impression, that she kind of hits to Western Asian people, so the Arab people. But me as a Slav, I really understand it and I really feel it because when being in the UK, when living in Ireland for some times, I did hear like, you are stealing jobs, which is like, bitch, you can't do what I can do. So I'm not stealing a job from you, definitely. Or hearing like me talking and people was like, I can't really get your accent. Where are you from? And I am saying, well, I'm from Poland. And they will be like, oh. And there can be extremely friendly speaking to you after that. But this one oh says quite a lot.
Oh yeah. No one does quite a passive aggressive oh as British Islanders, so that I
Yeah,
encompass the Irish as well. Like I love the Irish, they're fantastic people, but they do share for all of their
they do.
straightforwardness, they also share the same
They
level
do.
of
They do. They
oh.
do. Yeah, I love that that they are very
They'll tell you to your
sarcastic.
face, but
Yeah, but like they will be shit about Brits, etc., especially
oh yeah.
because of the colonial history. But like the O is
And
very
cheers to
common.
them for that.
Oh yes, but like they probably won't admit that, but they do share some things like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or like this very passive aggressive. Where are you from? And now, oh, I live in Step Aside. But where are you really from? It's like, yeah, you want to hear I'm from Eastern Europe. Obviously, you can hear my accent. Fuck off.
Anyway, we
Anyways,
digress.
well, we are Slavs and we are proud. No one can squat as well as we do. Going back to Sarah J. Maas, another critiques that I hear, we touched a little bit on that, right?
Mhm.
So as you said, like who can have traumas, our main characters, but not people that we want to diss, and this will
Yeah.
be Tamlin here, and this will be Nesta here, and all of this is very much smelling. It very much stinks like ableism, which is for mental health and physical health as well. And for physical health, we kind of get it in the Throne of Glass, where one of the characters is like, they are pretty much not allowed to, they are not written in the way to show us that, hey, without your like body being fully working, you can still experience stuff, you can still do stuff. It's like, no, everybody is being healed at the very end. And
Hmm.
I'm talking about Kale here, that is being cured at the end, and then he is being like attacked after that, and it's well for sure that he won't be walking ever again. But then the woman that loves him and he loves her, she's having this healing power, so she kind of binds her health to his. So if she's healthy,
Hmm.
he's healthy as well because he can just get her healing energy all the time, which is like, can he just be on the wheelchair? He will be as awesome because he got his redemption arc
Hmm.
as when walking, but no, he must be walking. Nesta is allowed to have trauma, but I don't know, I have issues with the fact that she's pretty much dealing with the trauma by having very rough sex with Cassian and doing sports and finding a community. This is fine, but this is not what Rysand and Feyre intended. Finding a community, she did it by herself. She found a community by herself, and they were like, "Oh, you are going to train with Cassian and be closed because we, as the rulers, we can't show you to the public." And for me, it like from the very beginning, it was clear. It wasn't like, oh, it's your choice, Feyre. Sorry, Nesta,
Yeah.
the main feminist of the Jima's world,
Yeah,
which is who is not.
it
But
was, if I may, it was an
yeah,
interesting parallel because for Feyre to train and be able to defend herself better, because obviously she could use bow and arrow, but to be able to defend herself better, that was her choice. She trained because she chose to. Nesta was forced to. She never gave any indication of wanting to be physically active. Yes, she found empowerment through that, but did she have to? What was, for what end? What was the real reason why she had to be a warrior woman other than because that's the only way we can show a growth because suddenly I can now hit a person and cause some damage, but also B to go, oh, now that she's healthy and exercising and a fighter, now she's acceptable. That's also a not so subtle hint at, well, if you're not a warrior, you're not acceptable.
She's being acceptable because she becomes useful.
Exactly.
She becomes useful, and she has this power, and she is being controlled finally with the power. So the power that the most powerful High Lord in all times Rhysand is being scared of.
Mm,
So the power is now being controlled, and hence she can be back.
yeah.
I kind of like I was seeing one of the TikToks that one of the creators, I can't remember who it was. I'm very sorry about that, but like, I was just scrolling the Sarah
Mhm.
J. Maas stuff, so I didn't like really say I wasn't saving them at some point because I was already like very much into it, and you called me from the void. Thank you very much, Paulina.
You're welcome.
And one of the people on TikTok said that they were kind of waiting for this book to turn out that the high school clique of the Night Court, they are actually bad characters.
Yeah,
That they are actually the enemies and Nesty
that they
figuring
are
it
the high school
out.
bullies.
Because they are actually.
Yeah,
One of the things that this is also my impression, I'm not sure how many people agree with me, but like this
I'm
will
sure we'll find
go.
out.
Probably. But this kind of goes to Sarah's acknowledgements in her books and how he speaks about her husband. And for me, it's quite obvious that when writing Feyre and Rhysand, she was kind of writing herself and her husband. And this is very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, I do distinctly remember both reading it and then messaging you about in the acknowledgements of A Court of Silver Flames of
Yeah.
her making an explicit mention to say like there was a lot of my husband inspired in this book, and when you know that this book revolves around having very graphic, quite rough sex, I didn't need to know.
Some of the other critiques that appeared, it's not as much about her writing, but to her person, which I will only just touch on because we are talking about romance and books.
And
But
it's
I,
not like, yeah, unless the author's being absolutely heinous, which we have no
uh,
evidence of Sarah J. Maas being that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So some of the accusations that appeared is, well, first, that she's kind of out of touch, that she was one of these rich people that moved out to Hawaii during COVID while natives were struggling to keeping their houses and just asking rich people, please don't buy the houses and please don't come there. And but rich people never care. So that's it. It's not pretty much accusation towards Sarah Jimas personally, but towards rich people altogether. There are also people talking like, is she a Zionist? Maybe she is, because there was this one actually article talking about like how she was visiting Israel because she's Jewish, by the way, and how her grandmother lives there and she works with IDF and whatever, but it's never explicitly said that she is a Zionist, and I would say that in the Crescent City series, she actually kind of makes some hints that we will have this very powerful beings and fae, and there are people, human, who are struggling against them, and they are making terrorist attacks, which are kind of justified, but no, it's very bad, please do not do this. And these humans are, at the end of the day, rescued by the good fae,
Hmm?
which is like a little bit eye rolling, but like it kind of like when I was reading this, it was pretty much sounding like something very familiar from our world, but she's not there yet, and we can't say what are her views because she doesn't talk about this because she's pretty much talking about her books when giving interviews. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And the thing that is not exactly Sarah J. Maas, but also she has influence on that, is this super annoying thing about special chapters. And
Hmm.
she's her books are like just the rulers of that. So she will have many different editions of every of her new books, and
Hmm.
all of this will have special chapters and these are different chapters, and it's like, what the actual fuck? So
Smash the
you,
capitalism button.
yeah,
I mean, with regards to like the her acting like a rich person, that she undoubtedly is. It
here's
goes two ways. In one way, she's not she's not Jeff Bezos rich, as far as I understand. And every author hopes to make it big, to publish a
yeah,
bestseller, to be able to live off just writing. Like she's doing things that I imagine plenty of people would, had they been in her position and were able to. And by virtue of sticking to, if she's online, if she's on social media or giving interviews, she's just talking about her books. I kind of respect that because again, a lot of authors don't have that privilege.
yes.
What we've said at the beginning, what we're repeating now is Sarah J. Maas has a lot of privilege that she uses because it's hers to use.
Yes, there was also this thing. I'm just kind of scrolling through her Instagram now, but I
Okay.
think it's a little bit too late. But I have it. Yeah, she still didn't take it down. All right.
Oh.
So there was this huge accusation, and this is kind of disgusting, I would say. So she posted on the 24th of September 2020 that, well, in case you missed the review earlier, she published the A Coat of Silver Flames cover,
Mm-hmm.
and she also wrote like, so hey, here's the cover. And also like, I hope it's a beacon of light for you guys today, giving the appalling lack of justice for Breonna Taylor and presenting doing his best to undermine and destroy our democracy. And yeah, please go to the elections. And I'm also very thrilled for you reading Nesta and Cassian, but please vote and like whatever. So it's kind of like, yeah, using
It's
a
the
girl.
epitome of performative. It's like I still have to market my things, but it's unpopular at the moment to not talk about Black Lives Matter. So I'll mention it very quickly, but
But
also
like
please buy my book.
but she also just threw this girl that was shot by police in the United States, like
Yeah.
just somewhere in the middle. Then so it's like a book, and then this girl, and then I'm very excited for Nesta and Cassian, and please vote, I love you. And I'm like, this is so disrespectful.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I remembered our previous episode where we talked about
Lots of shit,
sex.
probably.
No, we talked about sex.
Baby, let's talk about you.
Exactly. But we were saying how some
All the good
genres seem to
things and the
go.
bad things that maybe. Yeah, sorry.
Some genres seem to go, look, atrocities, let's bang, happy ending. And that's kind of what she's done in this. It's like, buy my book, by the way, atrocities, but buy my book. It's
And
the
please
same thing.
vote.
Yeah. That's where the trope came from.
Yeah, and this post actually has like over 4,000 comments, and loads of people are like, please, this is disrespectful, get this post down. And she never did.
But in a way,
And she
at
never
this
did.
point, it becomes almost good that she kept the post because it shows, well, I'm not just going to delete a post that has 4,000 comments, probably half of which are critical of her. It's her saying, I made a mistake and it's right here. I'm not trying to erase it.
And fans, this is the last accusation, which is not exactly for Sarah J. Maas, but
No,
like it's related to Sarah J. Maas, which is her fandom that on TikTok is fucking toxic, and I'm not going to explain myself, I'm not going to justify it.
I think that something to be said that if you are a creator with a big following, whether you're Sarah J. Maas, whether you're Taylor Swift, whether you're someone on YouTube, if your fandom is acting poorly, call them
Yeah,
out and
call
say,
them out.
guys, that ain't it. That's not what we stand for, and maybe tone down a little bit, especially with authors, because like these people aren't real. These characters, guess what? They appeared
They
in my
don't
head. I made
exist.
them up, and I wrote about them. It's all fake.
They don't exist. Please don't. Yeah, so like it's been known that that people altogether, not only Sarah J. Maas fans, but like people altogether can make this parasocial connections with, well, for example, with the celebrities. This is also known among Taylor Swift fans that they will be going
Some
way
of them have
beyond
gone way. Yeah.
to justify some of her actions, like flying from one side of a lake to the other, which is ridiculous.
But equally,
Like,
it's their own behaviors. It's the behaviors of the
yeah,
fans that when they get out of hand, it's like
so it's
get
pretty
get some
much defending
perspective.
someone like in since we started with Taylor Swift, let's be very controversial in this episode. So like defending someone who is very influential and very rich, and they actually do not need you defending them. Because they do not need that you defending them. But here you are because you developed this parasocial connection with them. And the same goes with Sarah J. Maas fans. And I wouldn't even call them Sarah J. Maas fans, but they are
Yeah, they're parasocial with the characters.
the book fans, exactly, because for Sarah being so private and keeping pretty much to herself and only talking as little as she can about her own life and talking
Yeah,
mostly about her books and her characters, etc., they develop the connections with the characters.
yeah. Because there's
And
nothing else for them to latch on to. This is
yeah,
who they have
and
the most information about.
yeah, I can actually understand because they are good characters and you
Yeah,
can get very much into them. And I have also the impression that that at some point it was at this time when I told you, please read this because I need someone to talk about
okay.
these books. So this was at the moment when like all of the impression went down and I started actually to engage my critical thinking.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And breaking news, actually, critical thinking is not criticizing something. It
No.
may be, as in our case, on most of our episodes,
But you
but
can
like
still
it,
enjoy it.
but you can still enjoy it, and I will remind you, I do enjoy her books.
Yeah,
But I was thinking about stuff, and I was thinking about Rysand being feminist, but not because if you are feminist, you do not have sex with your partner in the library full of sexual assault survivors.
yeah.
And
That did happen. I forgot about
saying
that
something.
part.
Sorry?
I'm saying, like, yeah, that did happen. I forgot about that
Yeah,
part
it did
entirely.
happen. Yeah, it did happen. And you also, when you tell your, well, kind of sister-in-law that this is your choice, you can do whatever, and then you will close her in the house with 10,000 steps and telling her, you are not closed there, you can get out if you want, you just need to get down this 10,000 steps. It's like, well, I know she's a fae, but this week we had the exercise evacuation in my workplace and I work on the 22nd floor
Oof.
and I can still feel the muscles on my calves.
Yeah.
So this is not a choice, bitch. The choice would have been is like
Says the guy with wings, by the way.
says the guy with wings and the guy who can teleport, however it's being called in the book.
It reminds me
So
weirdly of that meme, sorry to interject, of
yeah.
X-Men, how Rogue, whose mutant powers are that she steals powers from other mutants and from non-mutants, she steals her life energy until they die.
Mhm.
And someone saying, well, yeah, of course, she wants to not be a mutant, whilst the woman who controls thunderstorms and is very cool tells her, no, but you should just embrace it. It's like, yeah, the disparity there.
Yeah, fuck you. And then I started to like think about what we talked about before. So it's like, but actually, no, but actually, Recent is Tamlin, but he's just being justified because Feyre is his mate, but Tamlin is not her mate, so he can't be justified. Even
Mm,
though it's Recent who is justified that he lied to his mate about her pregnancy. And it's fine because he had his reasons, but Tamlin trying to keep her safe by any way possible is not justified because of reason. So I started to think about it and I felt really hurt. And I
yeah.
remember talking to my sister and she told me like, was like, but why are you thinking about this so deeply? It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
And I'm like, but I'm really hurt by these fictional characters.
Shout out to your sister.
Yeah, I love her. Ula, if you ever get to this episode, I do love you.
Love you.
Yeah, but I was hurt, and now when I think about it, it's like I also developed some kind of parasocial relations to these characters because I felt betrayed by them.
Yeah,
So, yeah, realizing that it may be painful, but it will do you good because then you can analyze the book. Because at one hand, as we were already saying throughout all of our episodes, one thing is not that deep, but also romance is as good as any other genre, so it can be thought of, talked about, and analyzed the same way as any other genre. So you may enjoy it and not think deeply about it, but you may if you want to.
And it's beneficial to think about books critically and to analyze it and to analyze a genre such as romance, and in this case, an author such as Sarah J. Maas to this extent, because sometimes you need to be pointed out of, have you considered this? And then when you do, you realize that is how I could write better. That is how my books could be better. And that is how these books could be better. And maybe if someone out there who's listening is an aspiring author who's like, I've had issues with Sarah J. Maas, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Well, now you have a couple of pointers. So if you have your own
Yeah,
romantasy brewing in the back of your head, consider these points that we've touched on. Take inspiration because Sarah J. Maas, as we said, she's a good writer and she's incredible at creating characters.
yeah.
Add to that. Make romance great and make us proud.
Make Sergey Mas great again by bringing back the editors, please.
Yes, I don't know what happened, but please bring back her editor.
Please bring back the editors and please start removing the things that are reappearing. And I'm not only talking by the motives, but like literally the same phrases like men always growl and everybody purrs.
If the
And
editor reads it and they can play a bingo game with the book, then
they actually are bingo games.
then maybe something is changing. Well, what a bang to end the first season of Make Romance Great podcast on.
Is it the end
Or
of the
is it?
season? Or is it? I
Or
guess we
is
will
it?
see in 2 weeks.
Yeah. If you want to find out whether there will be more in 2 weeks, do keep an eye out on our social media, especially Instagram. I say we do have TikTok, but let's face it, most of our stuff is on Instagram. Both of them are Make Romance Great _pod. And if you have some thoughts, if our thoughts and words about both praise and criticisms of Sarah J. Maas have tickled something that is more than comment limits on social media will allow, then do email us on makeromancegreat.pod@gmail.com. And yeah, we really hope that you've enjoyed a whole 10 episode season of us yapping about making romance great. And we will be back. By hook or by crook, we will be back.
We will.
You cannot get rid of us.
And please be nice. We are Slavs, but we are very tough, but also very emotional.
Yeah. Like all Slavs, we smile on the inside.
Oh God, yes.
I'm too westernized for that. I smile on the outside. So, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode, whichever one it might be.
Have fun and have a great vacation.
Enjoy summer. Read some
or
romance.
summer. Read romance. It doesn't need to be summer romance. Just read romance
Read
because it's
romance
called
and have fun with it.
Make Romance Great. And see you again.
See you again.